Alright, um, welcome to my first comedy blog. I'm going to open it up by doing the most cliche thing that you could ever talk about in comedy. Airplanes. That's right. But I'm not going to complain about the food, even though I've been on just about every airplane service there is. And there is a huge difference between going like American Airlines and then when you fly Dutch. Flying Dutch is nice. Although, Turkish Airlines will give you like some sushi bits. That's really nice. And they have tea that's pretty good. But the thing about being in an airplane for 10 hours is that whoever you sit next to, you're stuck with. So it really sucks. I've had where I've sat with my friends and we've done nothing but like watch movies and porn and stuff. But one time I wasn't so lucky, and for some reason I was really far away from the person I was traveling with. And I ended up next to this Turk and some guy that was in the window seat. And I was right in between them. And like the Turk didn't want to talk to me. And the guy next to me, he had like this big brown hair. It was awesome. It was all, it looked kind of Giorgio Tsoukalos. And I was like, man, this guy's got to be like a historian or something. Because he's wearing like a semi-casual suit and jeans. And then he's got the hair and the look. So I'm thinking, yeah, this guy's a historian. I like history. I'm going to talk to him. Hey, man, what's up? Immediately. Hey, I need a double scotch. I'm like, what? And I look at the stewardess is over there. So he just completely overlooked me. And so he's like, I want a double scotch. So she goes off. And I'm like, okay. And he gets the double scotch, he drinks it. And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to play games on the little thing. And then 2 seconds later, hey, I need a double scotch. I'm like, 2? So fast? And the lady just kind of nods, and then she goes off. And of course, the Turk next to me is like, obviously thinking that this guy's a weirdo, like I'm thinking about now. Like, maybe he's... So I turn over and I'm like, hey man, you a nervous flyer? He looks at me briefly. And then he goes back to what he's doing. I'm like, ah. 5 minutes later, he turns over and he finds one of the stewardesses as they're giving out dinner. And he's like, I ordered a double scotch half an hour ago. And he's getting all like angry and he's all loud and in my ear right there. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. And he goes, and he's like, well, go get it. And she went, you want the double scotch, right? And he goes, yeah, and get me a beer too. And the stewardess looked to the other woman and was like, anyone go do it? They're like, we'll just get you the double scotch. And he's like, I want a double scotch and a beer. So by this point, I really hated him, and I didn't try to talk to him for the rest of the way. Because he was more than just a nervous flyer. There was something going on there. And a lot of people talk about joining the Mile High Club. I've always thought, man, that would be awesome. I mean, I hate being in those toilets. They stink and you're always like, and it makes you kind of feel sick when you're in there anyways. And then when you hit turbulence, because I'm always the one that walks in there, sits down, and then there's turbulence and I'm like, and I fall over, and I was trying to shit and that didn't work out at all. But think about it, if like you had 2 people and you were in that tiny thing, there wouldn't be much room for like thrusting or anything at all. And the little wall things are really thin, so the person that's inevitably going to be sitting behind you, tapping their foot and going, I gotta pee, I gotta pee, I gotta pee. They're gonna hear you and they're gonna be really pissed off that you're having sex instead of letting them go piss. But I've always thought that that would be really fun. Just, on the off chance that that ever comes up in a conversation, I can go, yes, I've done that. Up in the air while we were flying. There was turbulence and we turned on the sink. Got our clothes wet. It sounds stupid anyways. But it's just one of those things that you do it so that later you can have one of those stories. And I do that often. Way often. Like, if you ever travel with me, you'll know that I'm always the person that's gonna go off and do something incredibly stupid. I've been kicked out of more places than I can imagine. Like the Tower of London. The Tower. I was kicked out of that one Scottish castle. I was kicked out of Harrods. I was kicked out of like a Hall of Heroes kind of thing. Not a House of Heroes like the band Hall of Heroes. And I do really stupid things. And that's because simply so that later on you can go, ah! Because someone was like, oh, I bought slippers at Harrods. And I'll go, well, I was wearing a trench coat and I made a few nasty comments and I got kicked out. Whose story sounds better? Mine. Because it's abrasive. And you wonder why I did that in a place like Harrods. But I do that. I do that. And it's, you do it. You watching this, I bet you've done something like that. You, like me, perhaps looked at a 500-year-old cannon that was absolutely massive, unnecessarily massive, and went, it says do not climb on. I'm gonna climb in that bitch. And you climb in that bitch. And then you get kicked out by an angry Englishman. But you did it, and that is the greatest thing of all. So, that concludes today, and I hope that it was somewhat amusing. I always have these awesome ideas, and then as soon as I sit down to like write it down, or if I just pop open the video and go, hey, it's time to do this, it never works out. So, next time.